In 1965, a whole group of kids quietly got smarter, and the only thing that changed was a list of names. Harvard researcher handed their teachers that list, saying these students were about to bloom this year. Months later, those exact kids' IQ scores had climbed higher than everyone else's, real, measured points. Here's the part that should bother you. The names on that list were picked completely at random. No test spotted them. No talent set them apart. Someone basically pulled names out of a hat. Yet the prediction came true anyway, not because it was right, but because the teachers believed it. The man behind it was Robert Rosenthal, a psychologist who kept noticing something strange in his experiments. Even his lab rats ran mazes better when he told his assistants the rats were specially bred to be smart. Same rats, same maze. The only difference was what the person holding the clipboard expected to see. If a quiet expectation could bend the behavior of a rat, he wondered what it did to a child. So he took the question to a real elementary school in California, full of ordinary kids and tired teachers. At the start of the year, every student took a normal IQ test. Nothing unusual about it at all. But Rosenthal gave the test an official, important-sounding name so the teachers would take it seriously. He called it a test that could predict which children were about to have a sudden intellectual growth spurt. Then he handed each teacher a short list of names, the bloomers, the ones about to take off. What the teachers didn't know is that the test predicted nothing. It was just a regular IQ test. And the bloomers weren't special. Rosenthal had chosen roughly 1 in 5 students, completely at random. The list in the teacher's hand and the child's actual ability had nothing to do with each other. The only place these gifted kids existed was inside the teacher's head. That was the whole experiment. Then everyone just went back to normal school. Same classrooms, same lessons, same worksheets all year long. Rosenthal told the teachers not to treat these kids differently, and the teachers genuinely believed they hadn't. At the end of the year, every student took the same IQ test again to see what had moved. The random bloomers had gained significantly more IQ points than the classmates sitting right next to them. Kids labeled ordinary grew a little. Kids labeled bloomers for no real reason grew a lot more. And in the youngest grades, first and second, the gap was enormous. These little kids leapt ahead. Remember, nothing was done to these children on purpose. No extra tutoring, no special program, nothing. The label was fiction. The IQ gain was real. That's the collision that made this study famous. So the obvious question is the only one that matters here. How does a belief become a test score? Because a teacher's expectation can't reach into a kid's skull and rewire it. Something had to carry it. And this is where it stops being spooky and starts being something you do to people every single day. Rosenthal spent years figuring out exactly how the belief travels. It comes down to 4 quiet channels. The first is climate. We're simply warmer to people we expect good things from, and we can't help it. Think how your face softens for someone you're glad to see before you've said a single word to them. Teachers leaned closer to the bloomers, smiled a half-second longer, their whole body relaxed around them. The kid can't name it, but they feel it. This room is safe. This person is on my side. The second channel is input. Teachers taught the bloomers more and taught them harder material without noticing. If you think someone's about to get it, you don't dumb it down. You give them the real thing. The third channel is output. Teachers gave the bloomers more chances to answer and waited longer for them. Picture a hand up in class. For some kids, the teacher waits. For others, they move on in a second. That extra pause says something the kid absorbs completely. I think you have an answer worth hearing. The fourth channel is feedback. When a bloomer got something wrong, they got detailed, patient correction. Not just wrong, next. But here's where it slipped. Try it this way. The kind of feedback that actually teaches. None of this was a plan. No teacher decided to favor these kids. The belief drove the hands and the face. That's the unsettling part. The bias didn't feel like bias. It felt like just responding to who the kids were. And the kids responded right back. Treated like they were about to bloom, they slowly started to bloom. More warmth, more challenge, more chances, better feedback. Give any child that mix and watch what happens. So the child rises, which confirms the teacher's belief, which earns the child even more of the good stuff. It's a loop that feeds itself, and it started from a name pulled at random off a made-up list. If a belief a teacher didn't even know they had can raise a real IQ score, sit with what that means. The people around you running this experiment on you constantly, and nobody handed them a list. If this is already making you rethink a teacher, a boss, or a parent, that's exactly why this channel exists. We take one strange, well-documented finding and follow it until it changes how you see your own life. Stick around, because Rosenthal's effect didn't stay in that one school. Researchers went looking and found it hiding everywhere. In the military, instructors were told certain recruits had high potential. Those recruits outperformed the rest. Same story. The high potential list was random, and the recruits never knew they'd been quietly bet on. It shows up in offices, on teams, in courtrooms, wherever one person's expectation shapes how they treat another. Think about the last time a manager clearly wrote you off. Notice how fast you stopped trying to prove them wrong. And think about the one person who acted certain you'd figure it out. Notice how you somehow did. You probably credited yourself or blamed yourself, but part of that swing was living in someone else's forecast. This is the thing about invisible expectations. You can't see the bet, so you mistake the outcome for the truth. A kid told he's a troublemaker gets watched more, corrected harder, trusted less, until he becomes exactly that. Not because he was born it, because 100 tiny reactions slowly built the person everyone predicted. Now flip it around, because this is where it gets genuinely useful for you and the people near you. If low expectations can trap someone, high ones can free them through those same 4 quiet channels. You can't fake this from the outside. Kids and coworkers read forced enthusiasm instantly. It has to be real, which means the lever isn't your words. It's what you actually believe about the person in front of you. Rosenthal's teachers didn't say kinder things. They believed something different, and the belief leaked out of them. So the real question becomes uncomfortable. Who in your life are you quietly betting against without realizing it? The employee you've already labeled hopeless. The kid you've decided is just not a math person. Every time you think it, your face and your patience and your pauses are teaching them to agree with you. And here's the trap. When they underperform, it looks like proof you were right, not proof you helped cause it. That's how a wrong belief protects itself. It quietly shapes the very evidence that seems to confirm it. But the same mechanism is a gift if you'll point it the other way on purpose. Pick one person you've written off and try believing, honestly, that they're about to surprise everyone. Watch how your questions change, how much longer you wait, how you explain instead of sigh. You won't have to perform being supportive. The belief does the work, the way it did in that classroom. And often, slowly, the person starts moving toward the version of themselves you decided to see. This works on the hardest person you'll ever manage, by the way, the one staring back in the mirror. Because you're also a teacher holding a list, and your own name is written at the very top of it. The expectations you carry about yourself run the exact same 4 channels, aimed inward, all day long. Decide you're bad at names and you stop trying to catch them, and you prove yourself right by dinner. Decide you're the kind of person who figures things out, and you give yourself the extra pause to actually try. You quietly teach yourself harder material. You forgive your own mistakes just enough to learn from them. The forecast you hold about yourself becomes the climate you end up living in every single hour. Rosenthal's kids never knew they'd been chosen. They just felt the world lean toward them, and they leaned back. You don't have to wait for someone to put your name on a list. You can pick up the pen yourself. So here's the takeaway worth keeping. Expectation isn't a prediction of the future. It's a quiet cause of it. Every person you meet is standing inside a forecast you're broadcasting, whether you meant to send it or not. And you're standing inside theirs and inside your own, all at once, all the time. The teachers thought they were reading their students. They were actually writing them, one small reaction at a time. Once you see that, you can't fully unsee it. You start catching your own silent bets in real time. The colleague you brighten around, the relative you brace against, you're handing out invisible lists constantly. The kindest, most powerful thing you can do is choose on purpose to expect the best of someone. Not naively, just deciding to bet on their next version, the way Rosenthal accidentally bet on those kids. Because a bet placed out loud in your behavior can slowly become the thing that makes itself come true. So, quick recap. Random names, a false label, real IQ gains, all carried by expectations nobody knew they had. 4 quiet channels, warmth, challenge, chances, and feedback turned a lie on paper into a fact in a child. If this reframed how you see the people around you and yourself, that's exactly what this channel is built for. Subscribe and stay, because next we dig into why the people most certain they're right are so often the ones fooled. Your next blind spot is already on the list, and now, at least, you know someone's always holding one.